When I first watched The Dark Knight as a child, I was terrified when I saw Joker perform the pencil trick in one of his victims' eyes. So, if you don't remember that scene or that movie very well, Joker asked some of the people he was standing in front of if they wanted to see a magic trick. When one person agreed and walked over next to him, Joker slammed the pencil down on the table. The goal of that magic trick was to see that pencil disappear. So, Joker made that pencil disappear by slamming the person's head into the pencil, and as a result, that pencil got lodged into that person's eye. When I was a child watching that scene, I was terrified because I thought that person actually had a pencil stuck in their eye, and that blood was going to come out rushing everywhere, and that they were going to eventually die. Of course, when I went back and watched that movie as an older person, I realized how well made, funny, and most importantly, fake that scene was. But it still felt very real to watch as a child. And when I was younger, watching that movie, I was wondering, should a child like me really watch a movie that contains a scene as graphic as that? And of course the answer is no. So I really believe The Dark Knight should have gotten an R rating instead of a PG-13 rating. This brings me to my main point. The MPAA, which stands for Motion Picture Association of America, is too tolerant when it comes to rating violence and language in movies. In a previous semester, I've studied the topic of movie ratings in my English class, so I have credibility on this topic. As a parent, guardian, or older sibling taking your younger sibling or child to the movies, you should always do prior research on the content that will be shown in the movie to determine whether it's appropriate enough for your child. Because at the end of the day, you are responsible for the content your child views when you watch a movie. Today, we will discuss the problem with the MPAA rating system, propose a solution to that problem, and visualize that solution in action. To start, we will discuss the problem with the MPAA rating system. So, the MPAA rating system is far too tolerant when it comes to rating violence and language in movies. Although movies have gotten progressively more violent over time, they've managed to receive lighter ratings by the MPAA despite containing equal or more graphic content. As a result of this, children are exposed to brutal content in the movies they watch with their families. According to GCMLP.org, on January 12, 2018, the modern installments of popular film series like Terminator, Predator, and Alien, which were all created as R-rated, ultra-violent adult movies of the 1970s and 80s, have all been granted PG-13 ratings in their subsequent sequels, despite containing the same amount, or even more, violence as their predecessors. The reason why the MPAA is tolerant when it comes to rating violence is because Americans have become more accepting of blood and gore in the movies they watch. So, violence is more integrated into society now compared to before. Gun violence is another occurrence that is too frequent in PG-13 ratings, and the MPAA should rate movies that contain a great variety of gun violence more strict. So, Entertainment Weekly magazine, on November 14th, 2013, supports my analysis and adds that gun violence has tripled in frequency and surpassed what is seen in R-rated movies over the years. Another occurrence that is too prevalent in PG-13 movies is language, particularly the F word. The F word is overused in PG-13 movies. As long as it's not sexual in context, the F word can be utilized in a PG-13 movie many times. MassLive.com on March 25th, 2019 agrees that as long as it's not sexual, the F word can be used an upward of many times in PG-13 movies. Even parents agree that the use of this word in PG-13 movies is too much. So, when children witness intense content before they're ready to see it, it has a negative effect on them. Newspress Now newspaper on November 12th, 2012, adds that violent movies have a negative effect on children because it can inspire them to repeat the violent acts that were shown in that movie. For example, if a character is seen punching someone, if the person has wronged them, then the child will go out and punch the person because they've seen that in the movie that they watched. And when children see alcohol being glorified in movies, that's going to make them want to go out and try alcohol. ACAP.org in March 2017 writes that when younger children witness content that is too intense for them, it can upset them and even give them nightmares. For example, if a child were to see a person in a movie die, they would think that they actually died in reality, and that can really upset them, which is similar to me when I watched The Dark Knight when I was younger. So no child should have to see any negative actions such as alcohol and violence glorified in a movie, and no parent should have to let their child witness content that is negative like that. So now that we've discussed the problem with the MPAA rating system, let's discuss a solution to the problem. So the MPAA rating system could be approved if there were more specific age categories introduced. So a category for intended for children 7 and under, 13 to 16, 16 plus would be ideal. News and World Report supports the idea of a G6 rating. A G6 rating is a rating intended for children 6 and under. Medialit.org supports the idea of a more specific age category for movies by saying that a separate ratings category will relate to kids of different groups. So, the rating should be more specific because they would give parents a better idea of what age group that the movie would be most appropriate for. Right now, movie ratings that include G, PG, PG-13, R, and NC-17 are not specific enough because they're merely age guidelines, and that's not enough information for a parent to go off on. So it would be ideal if the type of content and the severity of it were listed on a poster next to the movie title on movie boards. So the Guardian newspaper on November 23rd, 2019 agrees with my statement. So someone can make the valid argument that movie ratings are merely just guidelines that parents should follow. They're not actual instructions from what they should take their child to see. They're just warnings, essentially. But the main reason for movie ratings existing is to give parents the idea of what age group and what type of content will be shown in the movie. Their main goal is to give parents that information, and if they're not completing their job, then they really should be improved. So as a result of that, parents really shouldn't look for any other solutions than the movie rating system that is implemented on movies. So now that we've discussed the solution, let's now discuss the solution in action. So with my plan in place, parents will be happy because their children are not witnessing content that is too mature for them or will have a negative impact on them. Without my plan in place, then parents are showing their children content that is too intense, and then the children will be negatively affected by that. So in conclusion, parents should just monitor the content their children watch, and a good way for them to do that is by incorporating detailed movie rating systems or just improving the ones we have now. So now that we've discussed the problem, the solution, and visualized the solution in action, let's review what we've talked about today. So we discussed the problem with the MPAA not rating movies containing violence and language as strongly as they should. We've discussed the solution, which includes incorporating more specific age categories that can specify what content is most appropriate for which age group. And we visualized my solution in action. So I ask all of the guardians, all of the parents, all of the older siblings that are taking their children to the movies to research the content that will be shown in the movie beforehand So the child will not be negatively affected by the content that they will see. I will share this information with parents and guardians I know in person. So, in the end, always do a little more research on movie ratings. Your child will thank you. Thank you.